I think that right now we are at a decision-making point and very close to a recession. And I'm worried about something worse than a recession if this isn't handled well. A recession is 2 negative quarters of GDP, and whether it goes slightly there, we always have those things. We have something that's much more profound. We have a breaking down of the monetary order. We are going to change the monetary order because we cannot spend the amounts of money, so we have that problem. And when we talk about the dollar and we talk about tariffs, we have that. We are having profound changes in our domestic order, how ruling is existing, and we're having profound changes in the world order. Such times are very much like the 1930s. I've studied history, and this repeats over and over again. So if you take tariffs, if you take debt, if you take the rising power challenging the existing power, if you take those factors and look at the factors, those changes in the orders, the systems, are very, very disruptive. How that's handled could produce something that is much worse than a recession.
That was Ray Dalio, warning of a major shift happening in the US dollar supremacy that has been reigning for well over 100 years now. He is talking about the reserve currency status getting lost. We are at a very interesting time in history where there's a fight going on right now in the US regarding stablecoin yields. And guess who's fighting back against them? The big banks. The big banks could very well be the last nail in the coffin for US dollar supremacy because of their greed, overshadowing their thought process on just how significant this time is right now and how important it is to get this right. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong said back in the beginning of the month that the US is missing the forest through the trees on stablecoin yields. Rewards on stablecoins will not change lending one bit, but it does have a big impact on whether US stablecoins are competitive. That last section there is very important because, again, going forward, yield on stablecoins could be the make or break moment for which fiat currency is dominant in the digital system. Now, before we continue on in this video, I just want to let you guys know about the free Discord down in the description below, as it was in the comments below. If you guys are not in that free Discord, there's over 13,000 members. Guys, it's completely free to join. Yes, there's a paid side to it if you want to join that as well. There's a ton of valuable information on that side, but the free side is also very beneficial. So if you guys do want to go check it out, there's going to be a link down in the description below, as was in the comments below. But with that in mind, let's go back in time a little bit. Let's go back to December 30th, where the CPO, the Chief Policy Officer of Coinbase, put out a post regarding China paying interest on digital yuan in bid to boost adoption. For those who misunderstood what's at stake in the debate on offering rewards on US issued stablecoins under the Genius Act, a sobering and timely announcement from the People's Bank of China that they plan to pay interest on the digital yuan. Tokenization is the future, and the Genius Act was a visionary move by POTUS and Congress to ensure US dollar stablecoins issued under US rules would be the primary settlement instrument of the future. If this issue is mishandled in Senate negotiations on the market structure bill, it could hand our global rivals a big assist in giving non-US stablecoins and CBDCs a critical competitive advantage at the worst possible time. Lobbyists for entrenched incumbents will always fight change. It's critical for negotiators to protect the primacy of the US dollar and the US financial system, not just incumbent interest. And yes, I agree 100%. We have been addressing it. The stablecoin market is not slowing down. But what's crazy about this is a ruble-pegged stablecoin, A7A5. On January 10th, it was reported that it surged 89.5 billion in 2025 supply. This eclipsed Tether's 49.6 billion and USDC's 31.7 billion. It was larger than both of them combined. Growth amid sanctions on Russian backers. This was introduced in January of 2025. It operates on Ethereum and Tron DAO blockchains to enable efficient cross-border transactions, mitigating constraints on Russian financial systems. And since then, it has grown rapidly. It has outpaced US dollar-denominated stablecoin growth. It's not listed on any platforms, which is interesting, but again, it has outpaced all USD stablecoins. This is why it's not just China that's a problem. It's also Russia, and it's also any other nation that wants to begin a fight against USD-backed stablecoins. The stablecoin market, like I said, is only growing more and more. Transfer volume is surging well over 40+%. We're at nearly $9 trillion. Now is the time to get this right. We cannot sit back anymore and watch as these major rivals around the world start to fight back against that dollar supremacy in the digital age of finance. Because again, we already know in the traditional system, dollar dominance has been dropping off. Now, on top of this, taking a quick look at the list here, this is a full updated view of the top stablecoin supply changes by token in the 1 year. Again, you can see A7, A5 just absolutely blowing every single USD backed stablecoin out of the water. Almost every single one of them combined still doesn't match A7, A5's growth. This is something everyone needs to pay attention to. This is accelerating the competition around stablecoin growth and stablecoins in general. And for anyone that's wondering why stablecoins are so important, well, it's not my opinion, or it really isn't anyone's opinion in crypto. In fact, we got confirmation from the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, on how important stablecoins are back in April of 2025. They're going to rush through stablecoin legislation to soak up all those treasuries that countries are about to dump. By rushing through laws like the Stable Act or Genius Act, Congress could create a framework where private issuers are incentivized or required to hold substantial treasury reserves. This would effectively create a new domestic demand pool to soak up excess supply. The Trump administration, with its support for crypto and dollar dominance, might see this as a strategic move to stabilize the treasury market while reinforcing the dollar's global role. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has already signaled intent to leverage stablecoins for this purpose. They are weaponizing US dollar-backed stablecoins. They are doing this to ensure that the dollar is the dominant currency in the digital age of finance. Check it out.
And we are going to put a lot of thought into the stablecoin regime. And as President Trump has directed, we are going to keep the U.S. the dominant reserve currency in the world, and we will use stablecoins to do that. Thank you.
Again, stablecoins are the secret weapon here. Now, on top of that, we also heard from JD Vance. Stablecoins are a force multiplier for the US dollar. In this administration, we do not think that stablecoins threaten the integrity of the United States dollar. Quite the opposite. Dollar-pegged stablecoins is only going to help the American economy, and it's only going to help the American dollar. Check it out.
In this administration, we do not think that stablecoins threaten the integrity of the United States dollar. Quite the opposite. In fact, we view them as a force multiplier of our economic might. Dollar-pegged stablecoins, particularly once Genius is enacted, is only going to help the American economy, and it's only going to help the American dollar.
So there you have it. Again, they are utilizing the dollar as a weapon. Now, Thomas Macy recently put out a post on X warning everyone As the dollar's reserve currency status diminishes, so does our ability to tax the world by creating more money. When reserve status is lost, maintaining current spending levels and servicing the debt will be even more painful for Americans who will bear the full inflation tax. And that's because Peter Schiff recently put out a post saying Trump has it backwards. The US doesn't subsidize the world subsidizes the US. The dollar's reserve currency status allows us to live beyond our means. Soaring debt, tariffs, and military threats jeopardize the status. When it's lost, economic collapse will follow. And yes, this is a very big issue, because we are living in a very interesting time in history where, number one, the US dollar reserve currency status has been outdated for years. It's been long overdue for a new reserve currency to rise, but it's also at a time where a new system is essentially being created through tokenization, through stablecoins and blockchain technology, along with AI. Everyone has been saying that, oh, hey, the US dollar is never going to fall. We've been hearing it for years and years and years and years now. However, that was before we had stablecoins and before we have banks fighting back against stablecoins at the same exact time that our largest rivals like China and Russia are moving against the US in every single step of the way. While we are moving into this new system, we're doing so to get away from the old system. This is seen as a crucial moment in time where the entire system can be rewritten by a new dominant force. And if the US doesn't get this right, then yes, we could see economic collapse of the US economy, of the US dollar system. And this would absolutely kill the reserve currency status. At the same exact time, though, I do believe that the US is seeing this as a crucial moment. We go over here. This is from CEO at Alchemy. Stablecoins are the strongest force preserving US dollar dominance globally. 300 billion circulating, 12th largest holder of US treasuries, more than India, Russia, or even Saudi Arabia. Now, I do want to say, yes, this is the goal. Because while nations are dumping treasuries, we are incentivizing stablecoin issuers to buy more treasuries. If America wants the dollar to stay the world's currency, this is the path. Listen closely.
What's your outlook for stablecoin growth in the new year?
Great question. So the first thing, going back to kind of the global view, Bitcoin is actually a threat to the US dollar, but stablecoins is actually the best expression of United States dominance of the dollar possible. What stablecoins do at a fundamental level is export the US dollar to people who don't have access to it today. If you live in Venezuela, if you live in Argentina, if you live in certain countries in Southeast Asia, honestly, most of the world, and your country does not want you to have US dollars. Any country doesn't want its citizens to have US dollars because it destabilizes their own currency. So if you have a country that has hyperinflation, how do you prevent your citizens from getting US dollars? You have strong capital controls on the banking system. So in countries like Argentina, this changed recently, but you can't take out more than $200 of US dollars per month, which is wild. So stablecoins give you a way around that. So for that country, for other countries like who are trying to prevent their citizens from getting US dollars, it's not a good thing. For the United States, it's the best thing ever. Stablecoins today have $300 billion in usage, which is the 12th largest country as a holder of US Treasury bills, and more than India, more than Russia, more than Saudi Arabia. So what we're seeing with that is this expansion of the US dollar.
And yes, this is exactly why stablecoins are such a crucial force behind US dollar dominance. But this is happening at a time where we have bankers fighting back against the space. They don't want players creating yield generation for stablecoins. This is a problem. If we don't get this right, if we don't start rewriting the rules in the favor of crypto and not the bankers' profits, we could quickly fall behind. And then we have a much bigger issue here, where yes, we could see the reserve currency status of the dollar get completely killed, which would lead to economic collapse. We have a big issue in front of us. This is not the time to sit around arguing back and forth about if we should or shouldn't protect bankers' profits. We need to protect the dollar here. We need to protect the reserve currency status, and we need to ensure that we're not falling behind, China or even Russia. This was the biggest warning out there. Yet still everyone is saying, oh, no, we should have just passed that bill. We shouldn't have. And the reason for that is because it kills a crucial piece of the stablecoin side of the market and gives China and Russia enough power to fight back against us, where China is already seeing the weakness and they're already offering to pay interest on the digital yuan. And I wouldn't even doubt the fact that Russia will soon also offer yield on A7, A5. We'll have to see what happens, but this is a crucial moment and we need to get it right. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video.